All right, so pretty much I have my nonprofit Birth Mom Buddies, which is post-adoption services, and I have found myself in the grant writing stage nowadays. And I found that I was really good at it. I don't know why. I didn't train for this. This is not something I did. I'm a gemologist by trade. Um, it just came not naturally at all. I did a lot of work for it, but it is it is a skill. So it's not something that you just will know how to do. If you don't have somebody telling you how to go and apply for grants or find grants, really, you're not gonna be successful the first several times. So that is what I'm here to help you guys kind of navigate. And this is for nonprofits, this is for small businesses, this is for entrepreneurs, this is for pretty much anybody, because you can really get a grant for anything. I've gotten dental grants, I've gotten medical grants, I've gotten, summer camp grants. So it's like there's a grant literally out there for everything. You just need to know where to find it, how to apply for it, and it's all about by going over what makes us go looking for grants. It's because we need something, right? So if we don't have a clear understanding of exactly what we need, why would they? And why would they give us money if we can't tell them how we're going to spend it? That's the number one thing people have to understand too, is that funders have other funders, and they can't go to their next funders, higher funders, and say, hey, we did great with that $1 million you gave us last year. This was our outcomes. These are our reporters that, like, they reported all these changes. They helped this many people. And if they can't do that, they're not going to get more money. So if they go to their funders and say, hey, yeah, we gave it all the money, but we don't know what happened, they're not going to get money. They're going to get less money. So it's not, it is very imperative that. All right, awesome. My company is Fund Nation. I am a loan brokerage and have moved into grant writing. I've in the last year we've won $2.2 million for other organizations and my own. So I'm at a 92% success rate, and I don't know if I found the secret whatever, but it's working right now. So I'm not sure it'll be working next year, but things change all the time with funders. So that's kind of why you should be on the phone with them every day, period. Like I make calls. I don't know if anybody's seen my grant list, but it's extensive, and I've literally talked to most of those people on there. And it's a pain in the butt, but I spend the first 2 hours of my day doing that because most people are on the East Coast. So and I'm on the West Coast. So I wake up early and that's what I do. And it's tedious and it's tiring, but those are the best relationships I've cultivated. And when they know your name because you called them or did something, if you provide value to them, they will remember who you are. And when your name comes across their desk, they will remember that. They will remember that. They will just pull it aside, just be like, hey, let's put this one on top. They do stuff like that. It's not just like fantasy and what people tell you. It really does happen. So I've kind of narrowed the whole process down into the fast track and like a simpler approach than everybody else kind of makes it. Everybody makes it this big deal. And it's not. We got to all stop being intimidated by the process. I know I am. You guys will all get a copy of this. And this is pretty much what we're gonna go over. I do grants from the back because my mission will explain my objectives, and my objectives will, like if you start from your objectives and your outcomes and what your goals are, that is kind of will dictate the rest of the grant and your budget and everything else. So I do it backwards, and I found that works. These are all definitions that you guys would need to know getting into the grant world. There is a Community Reinvestment Act. It's the federal law that requires banks to give back to communities. They have to. So right now is February. Today's the first, right? Yeah. So February, and this month is bank grant month because January was kind of a lull between the holidays and grant season. It was all the federal funding, the notifications and FAs and TAs that all came out. So right now, I know Bank of America, Wells Fargo is invitation only, but they have a form on there that will show you how to get that invitation. But Wells Fargo is open, Truist is open, Bank of America is open. I believe US Bank is open too, and as well, Navy Fed is doing something new this year. I'm not sure if they're completely open, but they're taking requests for proposals. So they're invitation only, but they're taking requests for those invitations. So I can provide all those links to you guys as well. So this is bank month. Focus, if you're going to do grants, focus on banks. If you're a nonprofit or a small businesses, especially because they love funding other small businesses that are community development type in minority areas or disadvantaged areas, they are going to be on that. That gives them bonus points so they get more money. So, all right, so corporate social responsibility is for corporate grants. It's a business model where companies intentionally accept their responsibility to support the community around them. And you'll get a lot of those like Tyson Foods. They have a great grant program. Love's gas stations. They have a great grant program too. They're actually great, period, company-wise, for giving back. Same with Citizens Bank, very good. They have a lot, but you have to be very aware of the community in which they serve, because they're like hit and miss. Some of them like, yeah, we do California, but only this little central part, so you have to really just read the guidelines. And then a grant that's funds that to provide an advance a community-based mission or purpose. So if you have a nonprofit and you're paying out of your pocket, that's not ideal. You may have created it and founded it, but it's not yours. It is the community's property at that point, and it's for the community benefit. So stop paying for things out of your pocket. That's what grants are for. Literally, that's what they're kind of embodied for. They're supposed to be making our world around us better. So apply. Just keep applying. If it doesn't work for you, don't feel like that's a failure. There's always, you made a relationship, there's all kinds of different things to do with that grant. If sometimes they're sponsorships, sometimes they give you consolation prizes. Sometimes they're like, we won't give you this grant, or you don't qualify for this grant, but we can do this, this, and this for you. And those are all wins because you're building that relationship to come back to it later. So that brings me right to sponsorships. Those are funds provided by an entity to be advertised with an event showing their support to the cause. Coca-Cola, because they shut their grant season down early this year because they had so many applications. But their sponsorships were open all throughout the year, and their sponsorships are nice. They do in-kind events. They do money events. So they'll provide money. They'll provide sodas and stuff like that. They'll provide product. They'll provide signage and like publicity with your logo and theirs. They do a lot of stuff actually. Then you have in-kind non-monetary donations of objects, time, and expertise. To help support a community-based mission or purpose. That is also Citizens loves to do that. They love to send, and that is the best thing if you're a nonprofit. For goodness sakes, go to your local bank and get them to volunteer at your nonprofit, because that automatically puts you a shoe-in for their grant processing. A lot of times banks will not fund organizations that their employees haven't backed. So if their employees haven't donated or haven't donated time to you, then they will feel like we're not going to deal with you. It's really weird, but that is very true. So if you're a nonprofit or you work with a nonprofit, definitely go to your bank and just see if they can volunteer locally. Fringe is the sum total of the federal tax, state tax, payroll tax, retirement, healthcare, PTO, which is paid overtime, supervision, and supplies needed for someone to effectively complete their job. This is to be added to the salary that you pay someone. This is what we're going to, I have a whole sheet on how to calculate it. I actually made 3 because I didn't know which one I liked better, and they're still all in here. So you get 3 versions of this. No, you get 3. This will go through that very like step by step, because I had a hard time with it, and so I made it very easy for everybody else. The federal diminis, I can't even say it, but the federal standard of 10% of the program expenses that is to be applied to overhead and indirect costs should be included in every grant unless they tell you it is not allowed. And this is something that I had a hard time doing because I felt like I was asking for too much money at one point, and it made me not submit my grant, and then I lost that grant. But that is, I couldn't deal with that. It was like, it made it over, I think it was like over $200,000, and I felt like I was asking for way too much. It was at the very beginning. And now I'm like, oh, that's not even enough. So a letter of intent, sometimes they'll ask for LOIs. That's what that is. Some grants require you to pitch them your idea in the form of a letter so they can review your concept and see if you're good a good fit for their grant. This is like a pre-screening letter to make sure you're concise. So make sure you are really concise. Make sure you're very clear. Clarity is one of the biggest things in grants. If you can be clear and be clear with your messaging and consistent, your programs can change because obviously they will, but if you're consistently clear with your messaging, that is something that they are fond of. So funders in general. This is you need to make sure you're applying to grants that your programs and your business aligns with their guidelines. So if they're sitting there doing financial literacy and you are a child care service, that's not going to work unless you can make it work. That's a topic for another day. But yeah, so there's that. These are the different types of grants. We have a planning grants, which is the money given. These are my favorite. Money given to create a plan and explore ideas to solve a problem. This is one of my favorite tricks to use, is using your comprehensive city's plan. Like the city that you live in or the county that you live in has a comprehensive plan. They've planned out for 5 to 10 years, sometimes 20 years with smaller towns. And they love to like write their goals and objectives. And if you can align with their goals and objectives and build yourself out with a planning grant and then align with your city, then you're already shooing for contracts, procurement, grants when they come to fund. And then you can also just start showing up at all city events, all county events. I go to every small business event in Los Angeles and Kern County, and it's a lot. But I now work with Mayor Karen Bass. So, I mean, it works. It does work. You just put yourself in the room where you need to be. So, program, the exploring the ideas to solve a problem part is the best part because you can start, that gives you a reason to email these people, the people in your local, like your local lawmakers. You can start like the mayors, the police chiefs, watch commanders, just start emailing everybody. That's what I do. I blast emails out. And that they call you back and then they want to discuss something that gives you ideas of how you can help and where you want to be with your project. It's awesome. It's a good strategy. And then they pay you grant money for it. That's the part I like. All right, so there's program grants, money given that is restricted and can only be applied to specific program expenses. These ones are very hard. They're not hard. They're a lot more detailed in their reporting. So just be careful if you're applying for one of these, know how to report. Because if you don't do that, then that gets you on a kind of do not fund list. And I'm not sure how they share that, but I feel like they do. I'm not sure if that's true or not. General operating grants is money given that can be applied to anything the program needs. That includes not really rent, supposedly, but like you should never apply for a grant for rent or like back bills, but it will help you pay for like your overhead. Sometimes it does include a building. So like I do all my stuff like from like on the line, whatever that's called. And I don't see people in person unless I go to them, and that's only in Los Angeles County. So for me, an operating grant is kind of like it would pay for my overhead of the program and like my gas and stuff like that, but it wouldn't pay for my building if I need, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of works that. Okay. So capacity building grant is money given that can be applied to learning and strengthening your organization, which is like right now I'm trying to become a CDFI, community development financial institution, and I applied for the TA. That is a capacity building grant. They want you to get trained. They want you to get the software that you're going to need for being a bank or loan brokerage, for doing financial services and providing financial services. So if you need education, they're going to pay for it with that capacity building grant. So that's why they always have the TA and then the FA, which is like financial assistance, and then training assistance or technical assistance, they call it. So that's what I'm doing right now. So this past year, the top, like most funded grants were the top to support general operations was 54%, to expand programs or services 53% went there, to start a new program or services was 50%, for capital expenses and projects 48%, and to cover at max. It should be concise and clear, and it should move people and make them feel something. That's very hard to do. So you're going to play with it and you're going to change your mission statement. I don't know how many times, probably millions. But once you get that through, and every business, every nonprofit should all have a mission statement. You all should know why you're there, what you're doing there, and what your goals are, and who you help. because if you're not clear on that, how are you going to convey that clarity to somebody else? Like I said, clarity is the most important thing. So you're going to write down all the things here that your organization does to fulfill that mission. So make sure everything you write in these boxes, all of the activities that you do, and I mean all of them. Like I don't care if it's like you pick, if you're taking an extra kid home from school because their mom can pick them up and you're doing that on a weekly basis, that is part of your program at that point. It's part of what you do if you're doing children or something. So that is I mean, literally put down everything, because what I'm going to have you do next is going to correlate with that. And it's all right. So from your answers on the previous page, which is the most of the, like, which one of those things that you do has the most support from the rest of your community, and which ones are most desired from your community. Put those three, pick three, and this is where the 1, 3, 5 comes into play. So 3 programs on every grant, if unless they say not to. But I believe that this is my winning strategy: is 1 cause and 1 mission, 3 programs, 5 partners, up to 5 partners. I would do 4 to 5. And when you take lead on a grant, then the next grant in that same 5 partnerships, you then take, the next person would take lead and you'd be a part of their grant. And so that way you guys can be consistently funded throughout the year. And it works because they know funders don't feel so overwhelmed by having to fund the entire thing. So they see that you have other partners, other people bringing in money, and they want to just join into that party. It's just a mindset thing, I think. So this is where we're going to get into the city again. You're going to go to your city's government page, and you're going to find the comprehensive plan, like we were talking about earlier, or I was talking about earlier. You are so. But I you know who I found it from was Southern California Edison had a comprehensive plan for boron. So I was able to get information that way to see what they're trying to do and see what their goals and their planning of growth is, so that I could align myself better with what I'm doing in town. So you're going to go to whatever county you're in, look for the comprehensive plan, or it could be called the community development or economic development plan. Or that could be a section in that big plan, because they're usually like 200, 500 pages. But it has a good table of contents, and it will tell you and it tells you, like, these are my goals and objectives. It tells you how much money they've allocated to that goal, to meeting their goal. It's funny because they tell you exactly what they want. And if you align yourself with that, you're just helping your city meet their goal, really. So you just have to be able to navigate that. You locate the problems that they've identified by locating their goals and objectives. Normally there would be a table showing like this, like similar to this that's on the screen. It says like city, their goal, their objective, and it says how much they've allocated to it. If any one of those things aligns with any of the things you've written on the other side of the paper, put them together, because that's going to be your programs that you want to apply for there. It is, I don't know why it works. It works because they love to see everybody else working for their goals. I feel like, I'm not sure, but yeah. So this is when you look at their goals and objectives and the city's goals and objectives, which ones do you think you can help solve, and which ones align with what you're doing already. If you don't have a program and you're just creating one, do this first, because I sometimes wish I had. But you can do them here. And so this is the fast funding tip. It's 1 mission, 3 program, 5 partnerships. The 1, 3, 5. My mentor taught me that, and it has not failed. I literally have not lost since I started doing this. I also created businesses so I could partner with myself. So if you're a small business, partner with other nonprofits. If you're a nonprofit, look for small businesses that want to get grants as well. And it is okay for you to have a nonprofit partnering with your for-profit business. Here we go with the budget. So you cannot figure out what you want a grant for unless you know how much you're asking for. You can't even start applying to them or asking for money until you know how much you need. So that comes to whatever programs you have on these, whatever 3 programs you decided to go with, you are going to start your budget planning. And so this is how we start calculating. What items do you need to spend money on for you to solve that problem? So if it's housing, what would be your first step? Is it awareness? Is it marketing? Is it purchasing a building? Is it getting set up so that you can start working with HUD? Like it just really depends on what you're doing. For me, mine was awareness and awareness campaigns for Birth Mom Buddies. And mine did not align with the city whatsoever. So to explain why, why you need such a thing. If it's, and don't put any salaries right here. These are just items right now. So like if you need security, that is a job. So hold off on that. But if you need like porta potties for an event, that goes here. If you need like marketing, streamers, banners, stuff like that, that's all going to go here. So just think of everything that you would need and literally go window shopping if you need to. Go to the gsa.gov. That is usually where I find like, and I have all the resources in the back of this book too, but that's usually where I find like a lot of like, if you need to take a flight, that's like an overall flight for the nation, like the national average, I guess. And that's where you'd get those numbers if you have no clue how to figure that out. I did not, so this took me a very long time to make because I struggle. But yeah, so you're going to go ahead and you're going to write in that, but just make sure you're keeping track of like your sentencing so you don't have to going back through and then restructuring everything and then re-adding everything up because I did that too and it sucks. Please learn from my mistakes. All right, so your unit price is going to be how many you need for the year times the how many you need, how many you need for the year. So like it's pretty self-explanatory, except it confused the crap out of me. So I thought I'd write it down. That is your unit price. So when it asks for unit price, that's what you're going to put is the cost for the year. A lot of grants will ask like what you need, like this is per item, and then it'll ask what do you need it for, how many do you need, how many events are you going to do, and it gets so confusing because you're like, well, I only need like 5, but I don't know how many events we're going to have. So then you start guesstimating. Don't do that. It's human nature and whatnot. But yeah. Okay, so staff is the worst for me. Math is not my forte, so this was the hardest part. That's why I started with it. To calculate for staff, you need to figure out exactly what positions you need to hire for and which ones you can have. For me, I do community, like I'm doing community developments, financial institution. I have volunteers because one, that helps me with match grants, but you need to figure out who you actually need to hire and who you can actually just do training for, and then you get those tax credits in the back end, because if you're a small business and you're doing training for EDD or like unemployment, they will actually pay you to do that, and they'll pay for that employee's wages. So you will, yes, you'll give out money in the short term, but they will reimburse you at the end of the internship or whatever it is. So you can also think about doing internships, especially if you have like an automotive business and you are a small business doing automotive work, stuff like that. That is all good trade, anything that's a trade. So kind of think outside the box. You don't need to hire everybody. You need to hire your essential staff. And like if you're doing psychiatry work or something like that, there are students at the colleges that come and work for free. They have to do volunteer hours or pro bono or whatever work. So they sometimes they'll ask for like, travel, like compensation for travel or whatever, but like that's $20, sometimes, unless you're out in the middle of nowhere like I am. Then just go to them at that point. But like I have people who answer the phones for me at Birth Mom Buddies, and they are going to school at UCI, so it worked out for me. They don't charge me anything, and there's actually some of them like I can't make them stop. So they're like yeah, no, but we've got the phones covered, don't worry, and it's pretty cool. So that was a big aha moment for me, because I thought I was gonna have to pay for that and have to figure that part out, and that it was helpful. So be aware of the other programs that you can utilize within your program, so that when you're asking for grants, you're already saying, look, I've already taken care of this, this, and this. I just need your guys' help with this, because nobody wants to fund everything. When you're asking for grant money, it's best to ask for a piece of whatever you're trying to do to be funded, because that is more palatable, and it's easier for them because they have so many other applications. They are scared of giving out that one big application, that $200,000. If that's all they had to start with, they rather fund a whole bunch of programs in case somebody screws up and doesn't report. They still have all their reporting to be able to go to their funders and get more money. So and plus they are trying probably to make an impact too. I'm going to give them that. But applications at $200,000, if that's all they had to start with, they rather fund a whole bunch of programs in case somebody screws up and doesn't report. They still have all their reporting to be able to go to their funders and get more money. So and plus they are trying probably to make an impact too. I'm going to give them that. But mostly I was pretty sure it's about money. So but yeah, so this is what you're going to do. You're going to fit the position and what they do to meet those programs needs that we wrote on the other page, right? So use this workbook as best as you can. I just created it like 2 days ago, because I thought it was going to work out for me. But so I haven't like actually tested I tested the math. That's all I've done. So, and then you're going to divide the pay per year, which is what you're going to get here. And you can get this, all the resources are back over here. I wrote all the equations down 3 different ways because I didn't know which one was better for everybody. So here's your resources. You can go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and that's where you're going to get your wage data. And then for the like guidelines for hours worked and fair labor standards, you're going to go to the Department of Labor still, but it's the WHD FLSA. And I'm going to include all this for you guys. I can put them, I'll put this stuff in the group. I couldn't think of the word. And then over here, you'll have like the Office of Personnel Management, and it provides info on benefits. So like you'll get, because I give you the calculations for fringe benefits, and that somewhat gets a little bit difficult. And you need to find out what your state tax is and what your the state tax rates and the state unemployment info, because that's going to come up as well for fringe benefits. And here we're back at the I'll go back a little bit. I'm going to confuse myself. So, but here, this is the best one, but I couldn't make the little graph fit. Anyways, so we have the annual salary. It's determined the annual salary position. You're going to get the position for, like, I did project manager as my example, but I did the base hourly rate, and I divided that by 2,080 hours. That's the standard number of work hours in a year. And that gave me this. So it's used to the equation. And then, so to do fringe benefits, I multiplied the annual salary by the fringe rate, which is 35%, to calculate the benefit cost. So 60 times the 0.35%, and that's 21,000. So and it just goes on like that. So you'll get all of this stuff, but like this is the most important part, because once you find that out, you'll realize that you really need a lot more money than you planned on. And it was an eye-opener for me. I didn't realize that this was that's why that is actually why I didn't include that 10% that you should of the other costs that I was talking about earlier. It made me feel so like I was asking for way too much. I was being greedy, and I felt bad asking for the money. I didn't want to turn in my application, so I didn't. And yeah, so don't do that. Don't get stuck in that mindset. But here I wrote it in a different way in case other people learn differently. But yeah, so then I have like you also have like your paid overtime hourly, you have your healthcare hourly and your supervision hourly together. You write all that number here, and I tell you all the equations to find that out. You take the lines that you made the sentences on, and you create your budget narrative. You're going to have to say a little bit more than just those lines, but like you start, once you have it outlined like that, it's easier for you to just put in like into a sentence, and it's easier for you to put things together when they're stacked like that. I tried to write a grant from start to finish, and it was so inconcise and not clear, and the clarity was, I have no clue, gone, because it was really bad. And I noticed if you take it apart and you dissect it and you go like step by step, is much more easier to then put it all together at the end. And it even is, if you're consistent with your messaging, which we should be, it's actually really works well.